specifically reports. New South Wales Health says the man in his sympathy from Cooma was taken to hospital and is now in a rehabilitation facility. It's the first case in the area, and health is investigating that can be deadly. It's been found at few farms in the south and east of the country. It can't be passed on animals or from human to human. It spreads from mosquitoes. We're urged to use insect net. Stay away from stagnant water. Health authorities there are 7 confirmed cases of the Greens said they put $2 million to protect the Great Southern was proposed by Parliament. This project spans more than 8,000 kilometres and runs the southern coastline of Australia. Senator Peter Wilson says over the last 20 years, the Great Southern region received $4.5 billion in research. Some of the giant kelp forests. A magnitude 2.9 earthquake has been recorded at Alexandra in Victoria's northeast. The quake happened at 17 minutes past 4 this morning, depth of 1 kilometre. The State Emergency Service says no damage has been reported. And now with sport, here's Hyundai Leslie.
In the NRL, Canberra has beaten Cronulla 24-19 in its opening match of the new season. But the Bulldogs have an upset win, 11-4, last season's grand finalist South Sydney. Giants in A-League and soccer the grand final after beating Melbourne City 4-2 at Cooma Oval. The Tasmanian Jack Jumpers have kept themselves in the frame for an NBL final. A-League Women's Soccer Sydney FC is through to the grand final after beating Melbourne City 4-2 at Cooma Oval last night. Australia's cricketers take on Pakistan in the second test later today in Karachi. Leg spinner Mitchell Stetson is set to debut. Hyundai Leslie,
To the weather now, State chance of 24 with the south, partly cloudy in the south, with a chance of an afternoon shower at our Gippsland. Dry and mostly sunny elsewhere. For Melbourne, partly cloudy with a chance of cold this morning, mainly about 5. Top story, Russia widens its military offensive, launching fatal strikes on targets in western Ukraine. This is ABC News. You're listening to ABC News Radio.
And Sydney Train says services across its network will delay. Vladimir Zelensky has made an appearance on the streets of the capital Kyiv, hitting back at Russian claims that are planning a chemical attack. The United States has also hit back after Moscow claiming it uncovered a Ukrainian network of 30 biological laboratories, which was supported by America in a suspected military program. The Biden administration has accused Russia of calling immediate UN Security Council to spread misinformation as part of a false flag operation to chemical or biological agents in Ukraine. President Zelensky also says the claims are rubbish.
They accuse us. Again, us.
that we are allegedly developing biological weapons, allegedly built for the very attack.
Russia is a small economy. It's not a diversified economy, but the size of the economy is a relatively small European state. Something like 70% of its exports are natural resources. So it does have effect in particular markets. Nickel. There were obviously tremors in the oil and gas markets, and the gas market is a particularly localized market, so worries about the supply of gas to Europe will be particularly great. But from a global point of view, it's not a big deal.
Just thinking about energy, and some of the impacts have already been felt in terms of a rise in energy prices in Europe and of course the US. Is that likely to get much worse? Is it going to be like the oil shock of the 1970s?
Well, I'm hoping that there will be a supply response. There is capacity to produce more on the part of Saudi Arabia, UAE, Venezuela, get a peace agreement with Iran. So there are a number of edges around which production can be increased. In addition, technology has changed enormously. Renewable energy is coming in on mass scale, and shale is distinctly different from the traditional way of producing hydrocarbons. Much more quickly and doesn't require the massive investments. So you don't have to decide is the price going to be high for the next 20 years. If it's high for the next 3 years, it's worthwhile making investments in shale. So I think there's probably significantly more supply left than there was in the 70s.
But looking to other countries to pick up their supply, I mean, that involves political choices, doesn't it? And possibly political compromise.
Yeah, some of those things are recognition of reality. We should have done the Iran deal faster. It was clear that we were not going to get rid of Maduro quickly in Venezuela. So that's a case where we evidently are hurting ourselves more than we are hurting Venezuela. So yes, the politics of hydrocarbons are very complicated, but what is going on with Russia invading Ukraine is not complicated. And I think the moral clarity of what we need to do here is pretty clear. And with one side being very clear and compromises that we make all the time in politics, seems to me the kind of actions that would be worthwhile doing.
And is it possible then to impose sanctions on a country, and sweeping sanctions as we've seen on Russia, without shooting ourselves in the foot, as it were?
Sanctions always have some cost, but this is one of the instances where I believe that the costs are so markedly asymmetric. And since we don't want to risk a nuclear war and we don't want to have our young people killed, if there is going to be an international rule of law, I think this is what we have to do. And I think we should be thankful the costs on us are as low as they are. We have not integrated Russia deeply into our supply chain. We are very deeply integrated in Russia's supply chain. And that asymmetry is why there's going to be such asymmetric effects.
Just on that, I just wonder whether you're slightly, if you'll forgive me, slightly underestimating the costs on households, given that inflation was already a problem in many Western countries. This is going to add
that we've been experiencing, though higher than we had in the past, is not particularly high, 7.5%. The role of war volunteering, folks in the oil. And so they're making a bundle as the price of oil goes up. They're not paying for the oil, it's always the oil that they own themselves.
Do you think what we're seeing now, or what we're about to see, is the end of globalization, at least as we've known it for the past 30 years?
Yes, I do. I put it slightly differently. We are going back authoritarianism. And that's true of some of the other countries. All the countries that supported Russia have authoritarian leaders. So different authoritarianism
company that many of its services will be cancelled or delayed this weekend due to flood damage. After landslides and heavy rain, more than 500 transport staff will be out assessing and repairing tracks. Sydney Trains Chief Executive Matt Longland urging people to take alternative routes.
The damage that was from the unprecedented flooding has caused across the rail network. Sydney Trains will have around 500 staff over the weekend. Repairs like damage and undertaking for maintenance across the rail network. Buses will be replacing trains on Saturday and Sunday. Dustfield to the Hawkins station on the P9 and Gordon to our station on the line. Work currently led for today on Saturday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. between North and Perth stations, focusing on education, embankment, culverts and cutting, and buses will replace train service during this time. Please plan ahead around this weekend and access the latest information at the Transport website. And again, we'd like to thank us for your patience as we repair the flood damage. We've got more than 100 locations across the greater Sydney rail network that we're managing at the moment. We've got parts of the corridor that are actually still underwater in the Richmond area, where we've got 30 metres currently. We've got significant damage on the Wood Mountain, so we're expecting the track between Penrith and Wisco expected to be out of action for some time. We've also got land bridge, we've got damage in culverts, we've got vegetation on the corridor, which means that we've had to operate the rail network at significant speed, and that's get that damage repaired where possible and get trains operating reliably as we move into the next week and beyond. We expect the full extent of the work will take some time.
ABC News Radio. Let's get the very latest.
It's a long season. Always been excited for a premiership. We'll do a chance every year. And I think we keep working hard. There's definitely no reason why we won't be there at the end of the year in the finals.
Fast bowler got pace and has been dropped to the side. Both teams will be hoping for a better pitch shot. Gun bowler died with a crucial role in the back of some of the hamstrings while bowling Western Australia's win over New South Wales in the men's domestic one-day cup final yesterday. $50,000 in Canadian
car after originally going unsold in last month's auction. So the 9th for Aaron Finch, what a journeyman. Let's go to AFLW now, and Greater Western Sydney has finished its season with an easy away win after beating Geelong by 18. Despite missing a number of midfield players, the Giants triumphed 85-53 35. Cora Storm kicked 4 majors in the match. Coach Alan McConnell said his team started slowly but eventually driven.
Both teams hit the scoreboard reasonably well. I felt the longer the game went, the more with them I was going to start to control the contest, and whatever that was the case, we had a chance to kick a winning score.
Meanwhile, on the men's side of things, the AFL has ordered Collingwood's Jordan De Goey to donate $10,000 to charity following an altercation in a New York bar last year. The move by the AFL follows an investigation into De Goey's conduct overseas and a finding that he breached AFL rules and did not live up to expectations and standards of the league. De Goey had already pleaded guilty in the court of harassment in the second degree